Hey everybody, Danny Maude here. Thanks for joining us. Did you know that there's just really only two swing patterns? You've got one pattern that leads to these beautiful movements that you see with the best players. Lovely coordinated motion on the way back, wonderful transition in the downswing, great quality ball striking and consistent ball striking, both the irons and the driver. But then you've got the other pattern. The other pattern that I see from time to, well, quite a lot of time with amateur golfers, which eventually leads to these kind of flicky strikes, hitting the ground behind the golf ball, kind of drives that don't generally ping off the face or are very inconsistent. Now you have the good pattern probably from time to time, but because you're unaware of what it is, you can't repeat it like the best players. I want to share with you today what that pattern is so that you can create more consistency. And do you know what? It's super, super simple. A lot of it involves the first move away in the takeaway, but I'll show you the whole swing and how you do it today. Now, before I get into the video, look, if you're new to the channel, it's one of your first lessons of mine, please consider subscribing. I release videos like this every single week to try and help you improve your game. Plus, I always put a free downloadable practice guide in the description box below, so you never have to remember a thing. Great, so like I say, there's only two swing patterns. You've got that one pattern that is going to lead to what you see with the best players, this wonderful coordinated motion on the way back in the takeaway. Then as they take it back and they come down, you'll see this lovely angle of almost lag we create, yeah? Then on the way down with the irons, they compress them beautifully. With a driver, they have immense power with this pattern. So let me show you now what it is and then show you step by step how you develop it. I'll do it in 3 phases and stay tuned to phase 3 because the phase 3 is kind of how you tend to take it to the golf course, okay? So here's the pattern. The great players, they move this first, okay? The butt end goes first. Your poorer players, the poorer ball strikers, move the head very quickly first. Let me show you what happens. If you move the head very quickly first, you set the whole chain of motion, the poor pattern up. Because what happens is when you flick the head away, when you flick it back here, you're going to flick it down here. Can you see this? When you flick the head away early, you end up flicking it away early on the way down. But if you can learn to feel this moving, and I'll show you how to do this in a second, effectively first, now look what happens. You suddenly now look at this. What does that look familiar? Nice and coordinated movement away because the butt's leading and the flicking comes later. So you see a completely different pattern forming. Watch this. Can you see the lag when we move the butt? But watch this. If I do this, I create the flickiness, yeah? But if I create this motion, I create the lag, yeah? Now here's how I want you to feel this. Grab a club just initially, just in your trail hand. Grip it in the fingers. And all I want you to do, first of all, this makes the club head very heavy, that's the idea. Because once you can feel the head, you can basically organize it, you know where it is. And all I want you to do is this. Move the handle away first. So you're dragging the handle away. I call it drag and lag. You're dragging the handle away and then forward. So suddenly now, can you see how by moving it backwards and forwards, we naturally create lag. And also at some stage, the club's going to release, yeah? So we're dragging it and they're automatically creating the lag, yeah? So just spend your time doing that initially. You can't move the head first when you hold it just in your fingertips. You just can't. But so that's the first stage. Feel this motion first. Then what I want you to do is take the club in your lead hand. And I say your lead hand because it's this lead side for most of us that kind of doesn't really move very, very well, okay? So what I want to do now is this. We're going to get this end moving, and it's almost the feeling that you're after is that you're moving this end but leaving the club behind. But just one caveat here, what I want you to pay attention to is this. I don't want you here to make this stiff, okay? This is still the same principles we've just done earlier, but what we're doing, look at this, I'm going to move the grip end, right? This is still kind of, if I exaggerated this, it's like this. The head, I'm not kind of holding it stiff and it's coming with me. It's almost feel like I'm leaving the head behind. And we're going to just initially do it with the wrists, then we're going to bring in the arm and the shoulder, and you're going to see very quickly how this performs a great, great powerful swing, which you can repeat, okay? So watch. So I'm going to literally just move this away and then move it back the other way. Can you see the lag? So every time this decides to move, look, we create the pattern necessary for great shots. And I don't know if you can see this, but my body is already naturally starting to respond to this motion, yeah? This is what happened to a recent client, Shilpesh. She'd been striking apparently par for 30 years, comes to see me, and he said he struck it the best he's ever struck it in his life through this simple drill. So start with that first. Get that sensation of this butt end leading this club away, leaving the head behind, and then just practice this little movement with your lead side. Now at the moment, all we're using is the wrist, so it's not a golf swing yet. There. There, right. Now you've got that kind of sensation. What I then want you to do is this. Now with Shilpesh, he had this kind of movement where he would flick, the head would start early, he'd flick it, he'd fan the club inside, and then because of that, what would happen? He would flick it over the top. So even though he felt he was doing this, he couldn't resist doing a little bit of this. So this drag of the handle as such, didn't last long enough. He basically got to about here, it stopped, and if he stops, what happens to the club head? Momentum's going to take over, which is why you need supple wrists, just oily wrists, and that got him inside again. So what we did with him is you might have to do the same, is just you may need to feel like you're super exaggerating this entire process in order for it to work. So I got him to feel like he was literally, still very soft, but moving and dragging this motion as long as he possibly could. So it often felt like this. Did he look like that? No. But then watch, then we go. Can you see the difference? Because now the club is going to react, and we're going to be, excuse me, in this territory, yeah? Look, long, lack, automatically. And then we're starting to get all these great shapes. So start to focus on this motion. Now, what we did with Shilpesh, and as we take this process on, is you're starting to get this moving, your arms moving. But what I want you to make sure is also this shoulder moves, okay? Very, very important. It's very easy to move the handle and just move the arm. And it's fine, you can still create a bit of lag, but you won't create the power that you need. The final piece of that jigsaw, okay, is you've got to make sure that this lead shoulder also helps you to move this motion too, okay? You can see this. If this keeps moving, that handle's going to keep moving. If this suddenly stops, we fling it too soon, we get stuck around the corner. Can you see this? If this suddenly stops, boom, this is going to go, yeah? So keep this moving for as long as you physically can. And the sensation is much greater than you probably realize, all right? So get that sensation and just start to feel this motion before we work on how you can take this to the golf course. So now take the club in both hands. And why we start with the dominant hand is that's the area I want you to maybe focus on. Just kind of get that sensation. It's the lead hand here, leading the club away, almost leaving the head away. And we're going to practice just small swings initially. 1, 2, 1, 2. I don't know if you can see this, but my body's actually, even my body, my legs are now starting to help me move the handle away. You'll see with the best players, they use their legs, don't you? You might see them kind of transfer their weight over onto this right leg first. Why? Because look, I'm exaggerating here for you. They're moving the handle first. And then what happens? Boom, they go here. Why? Look at the movement here. 1, 2. Yeah, very different pattern too. Static, flick, flick, completely the opposite pattern, yeah? So get that sensation, and in a second I'll show you how a cool little trick you can take to the golf course. So I'm going to feel this motion here, I'm going to really exaggerate as long as I possibly can, then it'll naturally almost flail or flick on the way down, all right? Let's have a look at this in action. No big shots initially, I've got an 8-iron here, I normally hit 8-iron a lot further than that, but I'm just going to tap it down. It's not about hitting massive shots, try to feel this motion of the handle leading the head. So nice and simple. Again, no massive shots initially. I mean, that's not a bad start, is it? That's not too bad, but ultimately what I wanted to kind of focus on here is literally making sure that this stays and leads the way. If it doesn't work straight away, really start to exaggerate it. But before we work on the final stage of getting it out on the golf course, just bear in mind that what I said to Shilpesh is, although yes, we're focusing on a backswing motion here, It is a blend, right? There's no such thing as backswing and downswing. For us to arrive at a great powerful position of impact, the whole body is a blend. You'll notice when we did this motion here, look at here, as I'm going backwards, you can see my body's already reacting by going forwards to then strike the golf ball. What I'm not doing is going, okay, let's get this handle moving first here, back here, then come down. It doesn't work like that. And by the way, when you truly let this club go like this, your body will know what to do. This is the great thing about this. It's a very natural way of hitting a golf shot. So although we're focusing on this lead handle moving away, make it a blend. Make the backswing and the downswing look blend. You can see that kind of natural transference of weight or pressure that I'm getting into this lead side, okay? Super, super important. So get that sensation. Now, start with some small shots with this. Then, and by the way, this does completely work with driver, okay? Even better, so you keep it nice and long with driver, and then you'll create that kind of angle here, which is going to give you that lovely compressed drives too. Now, how do you take it to a golf course? Well, once you've got the feeling, you could do a couple of things. You could have part of your kind of practice routine, just hold it in your lead hand and just do a few little movements like this. Yeah, so lead and just feel that, because what you're doing is you're practicing this simple pattern of motion versus this. This is a different pattern. That's the pattern which leads to fats, thins, poor strikes, where you flick, flick. But if you drag and lag, just do a few like that. Then you can maybe move this into a waggle if you want to. Look at this. I'm now going to go, yeah, just little waggle. Okay, this is the pattern, different to this pattern. Yeah? Okay, so create it, whatever it is, all you're doing is feeling the pattern and then allowing your body to add strength and power to that pattern. So I add power by adding my arm, that's a bit more power. I add power by adding my shoulder to this, more power. I add power by adding my legs to this motion. Suddenly now I'm leading the handle now with the entire body, and then look, on the way down I lead it again. So this happens more naturally. So bear that in mind. So once you feel the pattern, then it's just enhancing it by allowing the bigger muscles to help you move this handle backwards and forwards until eventually we can basically give it a rip. Now that one should go over the back of the green because I put a little bit more into it. All right? So hope that helps. So in summary, there's two patterns that you can create. We went over and over and over again. You have the pattern where the head moves violently first and then this moves first. Create that sensation of the handle moving. Start with this, handle first, get that sensation. Then add the lead, a hand in, get the handle leading, leaving the head behind, feel that motion. Make sure you start adding the bigger muscles, the arm, the shoulder to really help this. And then even the legs here to really create that momentum backwards and forwards. Whatever you do, do not steer it and guide it, okay? One final piece before we finish. This isn't about, I'm not asking you to hold the club really loosely, right? That's not what I'm asking you to do. The looseness here was simply for you to help feel the weight of the head. Okay, very, very important. I'm actually holding quite tightly. The difference is once you've got this feeling, you can then start to tighten that grip just a little bit more. So you've got the control, but you've got the sensation that you need of the handle leading the head and creating that lovely pattern, all right? So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Maybe share it with one of your friends who just want some simple stuff to really get that ball striking working, whether it's their irons or their driver. And look, if you're new to the channel, come and join the community by pressing that subscribe button and the bell. But until next week, have a great golfing week. Check out this video right here. It's going to really help your short game too. Have a great week. I'll see you next time.